Hello everyone, my name is Raj, and in the next few video tutorials, I'll be showing you how to use Lambda functions in the AWS environment using the Golang programming language. The reason for me doing this series is twofold. For one thing, I wanted to learn Golang, so instead of using the language fundamentals like learning the different data types or using the conditional statements then if then else and also the looping statements like for and while, I thought it's a better idea to use or learn Golang using something like lambda functions which supports Golang, so that you can also explore AWS environment and other services that it offers. So I think it's a good combination using Lambda and then Golang and also AWS. We'll be learning a lot of things together in this series. So in this video, I want to keep it very simple. So I want to show you the environment I'll be working in so that if you want to follow along, you can follow the same setup, or you can also use any other platforms of your choice. So most of the time, you should make very minimal changes for these two things to work, as we'll be eventually deploying this in Lambda function in AWS, where the program will actually run. So for the operating systems, I'll be using Linux Mint. It is a variation of Ubuntu, or another flavor of Ubuntu, or everything is based from Debian. And you can use Mac or Windows. Pretty much all the things we discuss here should work in pretty much any platforms. And then for coding, to start with, I'll be using Visual Studio Code, so that it is very simple to set it up, and many people out there will not have any barriers to entry because it's very simple environment or IDE to use it. As we go along, I may also use Vim. I also like Vim, so that we may switch Vim. You may be seeing using both of these different platforms on and off. So once you so for the prerequisite, you need to install the Visual Studio Code, and also you need to install the AWS client. So if you go to AWS -v or AWS version, you should see something like this. So once you have those two criteria, you also need to have an AWS account. If you don't have one, you can easily sign up and make sure that your environment is set up to make changes to the AWS environment. So the way you do that is you just do AWS configure, and then you follow the prompts to enter your access IDs and secret keys. So this is not a series on security, but I will be doing a lot of this in the future. But just to keep it simple, I'm just going to use the bare minimum, so that just use access key, secret key, or you can also use other secure mechanisms to log on to AWS environment. So once you have all the prerequisites done, and using Visual Studio, I just installed Visual Studio just now. You may want to go to these extensions and make sure you install a few plugins which will make our lives a lot easier. So I would go to AWS Toolkit. I would install this one, which is the AWS Toolkit. We may not need at the current moment, but it's good to get it of the way so that we can use it in the later videos. So after that, you also want some Golang plugins. So you can search for Golang, and then you can install the Golang packages here. And the snippets. So we may not need many of these plugins, but I just wanted to get it out of the way so that if at all we need it in the future, it's there for us. So the other thing we need is you need to install the Golang binaries, which I already did. It's pretty simple to install Golang on Mac and Windows and even Linux. So if you do Go version, you should get something like this. So as long as you have the AWS client set and ready to go, Golang, and also the Visual Studio, we are ready to rock and roll to create some Lambda functions in AWS. So I'm going to stop here, and we will continue up in the next video, where we will create a simple hello world kind of a Lambda function and see how it plays out in the actual AWS console. Okay. Until then, see you all.